What is the best way to memorize your intervals when you're learning theory? In this video, I'm going to show you all your basic intervals from unison, which is your smallest, to an octave. So these are all of your basic intervals. And I'm showing you in context because that is the best way to learn your intervals. For this video, you'll need to understand what a half step is. So if you already know, that's great. And if you need to know, check out the link in the iCards and the description for the video on the difference between half steps and whole steps. Down in the description, I have a link to a free downloadable and printable list of your intervals from unison to octave. So if you would like that, go check out the link in the description. Now, if you're looking for how to make augmented or diminished intervals, or how to take one interval and make it bigger or smaller, check out my video that's coming out next week that will teach you how to do that. Finally, before we get into the intervals themselves, you need to know that many intervals have multiple names. So if things get confusing, that's okay. That makes sense because they fall under various names. So for this video, I'll give you the most commonly used name for that interval. So without further ado, let's begin. Intervals are the distance between one note and another. So your smallest interval is going to be from one note to itself. Now that may seem nonsensical, but you'll need to know it for your theory. So the distance from this note to itself is called a unison. Now to increase an interval, we grow it by a half step, which means we go up to the next note with nothing in between the two notes. So this is a minor second. To go from here to the next note, we go a half step again. Now we have a major second, and this is the distance between this note and this note. That's called a major second. We're going to increase by another half step. The distance from this note to this note is a minor third. So this one is a major third. Perfect fourth. Tritone. This one is particularly unpleasant. It has two other names. We can call it an augmented fourth or a diminished fifth. And if you want to know what augmented and diminished mean, check out the next video. So for now, we'll call this the tritone. This is the perfect fifth. Minor sixths. Major sixths. Minor seventh. Major seventh. Octave. Now we can run this starting on any note. So let's start on a black key. This to itself is a unison. This to this is a minor second. This to that is a major second. Minor third. Major third. Perfect fourth. Tritone. Perfect fifth. Minor sixth. Major sixth. Minor seventh. Major seventh. Octave. Let's do this also going backwards, because when you practice, you should practice going forwards and making it bigger each time, but you should also practice going backwards so you get comfortable with both patterns. Any way that you can mix these up will be helpful for your learning. Let's start on a completely different note. Let's go from here, and we're starting with the octave. So from here to the matching note an octave lower. Octave, major seventh, minor seventh, major sixth, minor sixth, perfect fifth, tritone, perfect fourth, major third, minor third, major second, minor second, and then this to itself is a unison. Now we can also do it this way. We'll start with the octave and we'll shrink it by going up here. Major seventh, minor seventh, major sixths, minor sixths, perfect fifth, tritone, perfect fourth, major third, minor third, major second, minor second, a unison. To memorize these intervals, the way that you'll want to practice is to play them in a row and say what they are, play them forwards, and then play them going backwards. So start at unison, then go to minor second, major second, etc. until you reach the octave. Do that 2 or 3 times. After you do that, start with the octave and then go backwards to major seventh and then minor seventh and so on. If you do this 3 to 5 times every time that you practice for 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to remember your intervals very well. Now, if you need to remember how to write them, do the same thing. Practice writing them in order from the smallest to the largest and then the largest to the smallest, and write them out at least once every day or every practice until you remember them. Now here's an example of how to apply what you just learned when you're learning theory. The problem with a lot of theory programs is they won't give you full context. This, for example, this is level 5 of RCM, and it's showing you your perfect and your major intervals only here. Then separately, they're showing you your major and minor intervals. So what they've done is they've taken it all out of order, and this is often why students get confused when they're studying theory, because they've taken the context away and split it into different sections. So there are a few elements we need here. So we need to draw a piano, because that'll help us find the intervals. Now if you can see the piano in your head and you don't need to draw it, good for you. But if you can't see the piano in your head, draw it out, and that will help you find your intervals. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and we'll fast forward a bit while I do it. This is way too thin. Now you don't have to be super tidy like that. You can draw a box, and then you can draw a bunch of lines, and then you can give the keys. And this is often what you'll need to do if you have limited time when you're studying, or if you're in an examination and you need to make yourself a little helper here. Now the important thing is when you draw a keyboard, make sure you have 2 black keys, and then you skip 1, and then 3, and then you skip 1. And I'll show you what I'm doing here. So first you draw a lot of white keys, and then where you want the black key, you draw a little rectangle, going about halfway down here and about halfway down there, and you fill it out. So that's how you draw a piano real quick. Now the other thing we need is a little list of intervals. One thing I didn't tell you when I was showing you the intervals on the keys is that the unison, you can just call it a unison, but properly it's called a perfect unison. And again, what I didn't tell you when I was playing this on the piano is you can just call this an octave, or it's properly called a perfect octave. Now the shorthand for octave is 8VE. And we can take all of these and make them short too. So sometimes programs will abbreviate perfect as per. Sometimes they'll abbreviate it as perf. Minor is always abbreviated as MIN. Major is always MAJ. Tritone is just called a tritone. So however they're abbreviating them in your book, copy what your book is saying. For instance, here they're saying PER. And notice I put second, third, fourth. I have the RD here and the TH and the ND. But they didn't put that. They just put a numbered 1, a number 2, a number 3. So whatever program you're following, follow their format of how they write things. So we're going to look over here. This says name the following intervals. Now here they've given me an E, and up here this is a D sharp. So what I'm going to do to figure this out is I'll bring over my piano here. We have an E and we have a D sharp. You might not need to write directly in. I normally wouldn't, but I'm writing them so that you could see where you're at. So we're going to go from E to D sharp. This is a minor second, major second, minor third, major third, perfect fourth, tritone, perfect fifth, minor 6, major 6, minor 7, major 7. So this is a major 7. So here I'll write major 7. And even though I normally write 7th with TH, they just want a number 7. So we'll write it exactly the way they wrote it. Let's do another one here so you can see how it works. This one I can tell is a C, and this one is a C. Now I don't have to look at this on the piano, because I know this is an octave because they're both the same letter and they're 8 apart. But let's walk through it in case you can't recognize that. So from C to C, how far is that? C, C. Minor second, major second, minor third, major third, perfect fourth, tritone, perfect fifth, minor 6, major 6, minor 7, major 7, octave. Now you may need, if you're a tactile learner, you might have to tap here and tap here at what you're doing. So let's presume for a moment I'm left-handed. So here's a perfect unison, it's just C to itself. Then minor second, major second, minor third, major third, perfect fourth, tritone, perfect fifth, minor 6, major 6, minor 7, major 7, octave. And it's okay, whatever you need to touch, do that, because this is a perfectly normal learning style. Many humans learn with tactile learning style. Let's do one of these that has a flat. So here, this one is an A, and this one is a C sharp. Now, if you are writing these letters when you're at an exam, make sure you have an eraser with you and erase them before you hand in your final work, because this will be distracting for the person marking you. So we're going from A to C sharp. Here's an A, And here is a C sharp. So we'll go minor second, major second, minor third, major third. This is a major third. Now, I'm actually not going to do one more example here. We're going to move on to a different example of what you might need to do in your theory practice. So here they've given you one note to start with, and they're telling you to write a major sixth. Now, it's very important to read your instructions carefully. This one says a harmonic interval above. We're going to ignore this part for now. If you want to learn the difference between harmonic and melodic in a different video, I'll have that released in about 2 weeks, and you can check it out then. For now, we'll focus on, we're writing this above. So here we're in bass clef, so this one is a D, and what I need to do is find a major sixth that's higher than D, because I can take it from D and I can go down a sixth, or I could take it from D and I can go up a sixth. So this is up and this is down. We're going to start on D and we're going to go up a major sixth. So I'm going to walk through the same thing that I walked through for the other question. We have a D, that's a unison, D to D. Minor second, major second, minor third, major third. Perfect fourth, tritone. Perfect fifth, minor sixths, major sixths. Now we're at a major sixth. What letter is this? This is a B. So for here I'm going to write a B, and I can't write it down here because they're asking me to write it higher. We're going to write B up there. Let's do the major third. So we're starting on an A flat, and we have to go above. We have to go that way, not that way. So we have the A flat, we're going to go higher by a major third. Perfect unison, A flat to A flat. Minor second, major second, minor third, major third. So a major third from A flat is C. So now I'm going to write C, and there we go. I'm going to break down one very confusing one here. Usually the trouble with theory is not the theory itself. The concept is easy, the work is easy. The problem is with how they phrase the questions. This can get really confusing for many, many people. So let's see. Write each major interval. Ignore that. On the staff below. So here we're starting with an E. And we're going up a major second. So we have E, minor second, major second. So this one is going to be F sharp. Okay, now the reason they told us the E major scale is because that's going to tell you whether to use sharps or flats. If you know what's inside your E major scale, you would know that you have an F sharp, a C sharp, a G sharp, and a D sharp. So when I put the F here, this is how I know that I'm not going G flat, because there are no flats in E major scale. There are only sharps, so I must go F sharp. Now, this is a minor second, and normally we could take an E and we could go up a minor second, which would be F. Now, because there's an accidental here, we have to cancel the accidental. And then we'll have a natural F. That's what they want you to do for question B, but the way question B is phrased is confusing. Change each major interval into a minor interval. We already did that. By lowering the upper note 1/2 step And that's what we did with this, because when you have a sharp and then you make it natural, you go down a half step. So we went from F sharp, we made it natural by going down a half step to natural F. So that's what we did. And then using the same letter name. So basically what they want me to do is they don't want me to put G flat here and then go to F natural, because that would be two different names. Now we're going to do it here, so we'll go from E, and we'll go up a major third, minor second, major second, minor third, major third. So here we need this key. Now I could call this an A flat, but because our scale only has sharps, we're going to call this a G sharp. So we're going to draw a G sharp in here. And then to make it minor, we're going to take the same letter on the bottom. We're not changing this bottom letter. And we're going to make this G natural. And then it will be a minor third, because if we go natural G, minor second, major second, minor third. All right, now there are many other applications of this, and if you run into something that I haven't explained and that you're not sure about, leave your question in the comments below and I will be happy to help you out. But basically, if you draw yourself out a piano and you've done this before on the keys, you've played your minor second, your major second, your minor third, your major third. If you've done that and you memorize them on the piano and you memorize all these names, then when you get questions, you will probably be able to complete your intervals. Thank you for joining me for this video about intervals. If you found it valuable, please leave a like. If you want to tell me how your theory or your practice is going, leave a comment. If you know anyone else who also needs this video, please share it with them. And if you would like more, subscribe. Bye.